5:01 on the 19th of May, Tuesday, although it feels like October. Who's all present here? I'm going to check. Ron's here. I saw Mr. Councilman Schoon, and Mike's here, and Robin's here. Is Dave here?
I'm here.
All right, he's here. So we've got everybody here, so we're good to roll.
All right.
Public comment. This should be interesting. You said there are people there outside, so if you're out there listening in Zoom land, feel free to speak on a matter. If you would like to talk, identify yourself, that'd be great.
Evening, this is David Nellens.
There, okay.
1535 Ridge Road. I'm not sure it made it because it was really tight. Lawyer David Wicklund put together a draft agreement between the Parks Department for naming rights on the performing stage. And again, that was just put together quickly. It's a draft. So there's opportunities for any changes. But again, that's something that the Lions are looking at a favorable response and support because of all the things we've done for the community. And over the years, all the assistance and financial help we've given the Parks Department. So I just wanted to point that out. And like I say, it may not be there because it just hot off the press.
Yeah, I don't think it made it, but that's okay. We try to keep these simple with my limited capabilities. So
it's there.
Oh, it is there. Holy criminy.
Oh, it just showed up.
Yeah, it just showed up. I just see that. Yeah.
Was it on there on Friday?
No, it was on
No, it wasn't.
minutes ago.
On the one on Friday.
All right, better update my stuff.
I'm looking at it right now. That's fine.
Okay, well, thank you.
That completes my comments. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
No other comments? We will go to the approval of the minutes for May 5th.
Did you say thy minutes?
Thy minutes. I'm trying to have fun.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
It was motioned by Mike and seconded by Robin that we approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 And
Aye.
those opposed, there are none. So those pass. The vouchers, we have two.
Everything looked good to me.
Agreed.
Same here.
Same here.
I move we approve the vouchers. This is Dave Servant.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Mike that we approve the vouchers as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? No one's opposed, so they pass 5-0. Items for discussion. By the way, I love the fact that we put it down to C because that's going to be the most fun one there is. So, ball fields used by non-residents. I'm assuming, I think you put that on, Dustin. And that's probably relegated or related to the whole issue with those tournaments coming in from out of town.
Tournaments coming in from out of town, and I know that staff has had a couple of requests, and it was a long practice, and really just looking to confirm that this is still a practice that you'd like to see, that we don't rent those out. I think the tournaments would probably fall more generally under C, but ball field use by non-residents is from out of town looking to rent space. And I know we haven't done that in the past, just looking to get on the books that is still the policy that you're comfortable with. And I'm happy if it is, and we'll live with it if it's not.
Pull my thing down here. Okay, any discussion for or against that thought process?
Just looking for a sense of it, just a sense. You don't even need a...
Yeah, I would, from my point of view, just from the Little League, I think that on our end, we would probably like to keep the status quo. Just the feedback that I've heard from all of the Little League members, just because of the amount of work that they do put into those fields, it would be their feeling that it would be detrimental to the fields to open them up to, rentals, just average rentals. Even though this is an unusual year, we recognize that. The Little League still plans on having a season. They are just working out the logistics of that with all of the COVID-19. So again, speaking only for Little League, the state tournament has been canceled, but they plan on having a season from at some point, maybe in June, through the fall, even merging the spring and fall ball into one longer season. So I know that there's some planning on the Little League side to do that. And I think it would just be a little detrimental to have to argue that with outside bookings.
Very reasonable.
And just from Babe Ruth's perspective, I would concur with everything you said without repeating it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Beauty.
I don't see any reason to change now. I mean, that's what we've been doing. I say status quo.
I imagine, Dustin, is that coming from a lot of Illinois just because of all the closures over there? I'm guessing, right?
That's what's been relayed to me, yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, I think a great revenue source, but the logistics, as Mike said, is difficult enough to get this thing started and all the nuances with it. So, okay.
Well, and I'm under the belief that if we open it up, we're going to open. I mean, because they look at it from both points of view, the park from the town and the Little League. If from the town perspective, if we're going to open it up and make money, then we should just open it up and make money. You know what I mean? And if that's not what we want to do, we want to preserve that for the community, it's best just to leave it alone.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. I have one person who's a Munster resident. He does have a travel team who he wants to bring in. So is it still the majority has to be resident in order to go ahead and rent them fields, or is it just not allowed because there's non-residents on that team?
I thought that was Sundays only. Is that not still true?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
That's how it was in the past, was that Sundays were open, although different for Babe Ruth because we had actually inter-travel league, but those were just residents. Those were people already signed up in Munster Babe Ruth that were also traveling, and it was an internal thing. But
I understood it to be Sunday only for Munster
okay.
residents. Yeah.
And this was a point that the long practice has been that the group had to be affiliated with Babe Ruth or Little League in Munster. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because this is a softball team.
Yeah, so I think that would fall out. It has to be affiliated with a Munster chartered organization.
Have traveled.
Little League has a travel team. I know softball's talked about all-stars or travel team. They could use it. But for a group not affiliated with a Munster-based organization, the practice has been no.
Got it.
Hardcore, I think. To do that.
okay, everything's solid on that one. We'll go to the Lions agreement that just popped on the screen.
Okay.
I'm assuming, I haven't read it, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm assuming we're going to name it some Lions band shell.
Approved at the last park board meeting. So this is just kind of the written version of it. So they, Dave Wickland asked if the board, would just read through it and agree to the written terms of the agreement. He'll send me an original for signature.
Now, is this the agreement that it's like every year,
Yes.
if we find somebody
Yes.
that would pay more?
Yeah.
The Lions, would the
Right.
Lions, I can't remember, would the Lions have the first option to match that? Or do they, I forgot how that's written.
No, this is their limit. If something more than what they are paying, the $3,000 a year, then yeah, we can buy them out of the contract.
And we buy them out with what that's the signage cost?
A year. So if we get an offer on such and such a date, they get to finish out their contractual year, you know, which, depending on when we officially sign this agreement. I think the target was effective July 1st. So in September, if someone comes in and says they'll give us $10,000 a year, that's fine. We can accept it. They'll bow out of the contract July 1st. So they'll finish out their contractual year.
Okay.
Rip the sign off the wall, you know.
Okay. So everyone feel comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just
So-
what we discussed last time.
We would need a motion and a vote.
I'll motion to approve the Lions agreement with the town.
Second.
Robin has motioned and Dave has seconded. Any discussion? No other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed, so it's 5-0.
Okay.
All right.
This is the discussion on the park programs and events dealing with what we've got going on in this country. I tried to send you guys an email, an outline of what some of us discussed at a previous meeting, sort of between the council and myself and Dustin. It wasn't all encompassing, but I think the major points came out of it were, well, certainly I'm just going to say pool, because that was a major discussion and something that we need to think about. Also, the enrichment programs, I think and Jill's going to try to do those, a lot of those more online. The camps, I think there was a consensus that the camps, more than likely, unless there was something that Jill and the staff could come up with, that we weren't going to have camps because they're just logistically, the buildings for the school city are closed. Our social center just isn't going to be big enough. And then there was some side discussion on some, movies in the park, the symphony, not the symphony, but the concerts in the park. Yes, thank you. Those seem to be okay logistically. We've figured out golf, I think. And then I believe there's a consensus that they would allow Little League and softball and Babe Ruth to continue to play baseball so long as they submitted some sort of health guideline to the town as to what they're going to do to try to prevent that. Now, what the town's going to do is snow fence the bleachers so no one will be able to sit in the bleachers and people will bring their chairs. And then there was some other discussion, but I know Mike, you and your group are trying to think of some ideas, and I know we should have sent some things in if they haven't already about some ideas that we have. So the floor is everyone's. Let's start with pool. I mean, because it's just the big elephant in the room, and a lot of people are asking about it.
Yeah.
I said what I said, and I said I was 50-50 at this time, awaiting more information because I don't know. I mean, things happen. I know I've had some conversations with a couple board members, and it's difficult. There's a lot of communities that are canceling it. I tried to even talk to Lake County Parks to see if they were going to open their water park, and I didn't get any response. Unfortunately, we got 6 inches of rain in between the time that I thought I was going to talk to them and this, so it just never worked out for me.
Yeah.
Dustin, did I miss out anything? I think the thought process between us and the council or Ken was that we would like to make a decision by June 1st because It takes 2 weeks to get the pool rolling. I mean, not only for the pool, but for the other projects as well, because Jill's got to do things and Janice has got to, everyone's got to do things to get it ready, get it out to the public and them to register if we're doing programs.
Right. I think and just for context, the June 14th date would be the date if there was a decision to open up that pool. Working backwards from there, that decision has to be made 2 weeks prior. So there's a little bit of time to chew on this. I don't want the park board or anybody on this call to feel like you're put on the spot and you have to wrestle with this right now and come to an answer. But Dan did an outstanding job highlighting everything in that conversation that we had. That conversation was Mr. Gardner, Dr. Schoon, Dan, myself, and staff. Just kind of talking our way through this, because this is a weird time. Conversations are productive. So I think you summarized perfectly where we're at with that. But I think,
mind you, it was 2.5 hour conversation that we had via Zoom. So we had a lot of conversation, and I'm not expecting a decision, but since all parties are here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good opportunity to just kind of share your feelings, ask some questions, an opportunity for staff to do a little extra research to make sure you feel that you're in a position to make an informed choice.
I had a question. One of the points that you made, Dan, was that you considering even limited to just Munster residents or pass holders. And so I was thinking about that. And do we have any numbers as far as like what the percentage is in the past of the usage? So is the majority of the usage by residents, or is it, do we have a higher percentage of non-residents or non-pass holders, I guess I should say?
Jill, I would phone a friend on this one because I don't have that information.
I can actually look that up right now, but I can say in the meantime that since we initiated that Highland gets resident rate for memberships, that has boosted registrations for non-residents. Let me take a look into the file. Give me a couple minutes here and I can let you know.
Jill, has anybody been buying any passes?
We have been selling memberships, yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of questions as the early bird deadline comes up on Friday, and we've made it known that, a decision isn't going to be made until June 1. We've been asking people just to kind of hold off for the, in the case that the pool does open, that we would extend the early bird registration deadline.
Now, I see that we spent a lot of money on the vouchers. I know we discussed it about a lot of equipment over there and so forth. Would that equipment be harmed in any way if we didn't open that, if we just kept it there as is? And I'm questioning, we spent, I don't know how many thousands on that, tens of thousands. And how would that, if we didn't get that up and running, how would that be for next year? Would we have issues possibly?
I think Kevin was planning on running the water to make sure everything works, no matter whether the pool's going to run or not. I mean, he can speak to that, but we were under the consensus that he was just going to make sure that the pipes and everything is good to go, the filters, all the new machine pieces, so that come next year, when everything hopefully is back to normal, everything will be in good condition.
Do we know of any other communities have made a decision at this time yet? Do we know?
There's some communities in southern Indiana that have made it, and they've said they are leaving their pool closed. Those communities off the top of my head are gone, but there were probably a half dozen that I read about that said that, communities that owned a pool said they were not opening their pool.
Any direction by the Lake County Health
I know
Department?
the closest one is East Chicago. I know they're closing. Fort Wayne is closing. Monticello is closing. I have a list here of about 20 places. I reached out to Carmel Clay. They are looking to open June 14. So, I mean, it's kind of hit or miss. So there's still a lot of people who haven't made their formal decision yet.
But is the Lake County Health Department getting involved in that decision or recommend?
Coincidentally, I got a call from Dan at the Lake County Health Department today, and he just called to ask. I mean, he didn't mention any other specifics in regards to that. He was just inquiring about coming out and taking water testings.
I just think that nobody wants to put, from an outside agency, wants to put their name into it, good or bad, in the event, I mean, that's just me talking from a political standpoint. The Lake County Health Department doesn't want to take a stand on it because then they'll just, well, it's easy for us then to blame them. But I mean, right now we have time because of the governor's order that, as Dustin mentioned, June 14th would be the first opportunity for us to open it. And Dustin has said that there's no appetite on the council to make his regulations any more stringent than they already are. So we're going on the belief of the 14th.
So
How would we police that? You know, the distancing, and who would be policing that? You know, and what would the ramifications be if someone didn't want to listen or whatever? And
Ron, that's a question that we ask in baseball too. You know, how do we police people from coming into the parks? And ultimately, I just don't know. I don't think it's possible to do it, to police people like that. I just don't. And I don't know how we could ask a staff person, a lifeguard, you know, a teenager, early 20, whatever, to ask people to do that. I just don't think that we can do that.
Very
I don't
difficult.
think it's possible.
Right.
Yeah. And we would do it, start off at a lower occupancy.
Yes, 50%.
Okay.
So if I buy a pass and pay full price, you're telling me there's a possibility I'm going to be restricted on the usage, and why would I pay the full price?
Well, that's an interesting point because the guidance that the Indiana State Department of Health, they put together a very good document, best practices in how to open a civic pool. And they talk about, you know, you got to use this combination of chemicals and spray these things down at these intervals. And you'd have to clear everybody out, right? So you'd run it in shifts, you know, whatever time interval you deemed appropriate. The pool managers, like, what is it, 90 minutes, 60 minutes?
Right.
All right, get everybody out of the water, out of the pool. We're going to disinfect everything. And then next shift, come on in.
Yeah. And then the cost benefit, would that even be?
Well, you know, I mean, the pool probably on a good year makes a little bit of money. I would, in terms of like conceptualizing this question, I would look at it more as an amenity rather than a cost basis, because you know, best case scenario, it squeaks by with a profit. It's a
right. Well, we never count on the pool to be a money maker, but we certainly don't want it to be a money pit either. And if we're going to be paying, you know, twice as much to disinfect,
you can say that about
every
anything
hour,
we have.
Well, true, yes, but you know, if you don't want to open a pool and we're going to be buried because of the amount of expense it's going to take to add additional staff to disinfect, add up all of the things that we have to do to add to that, I don't know if that'll be worth it.
Yeah.
What's the drop dead date that we would have to make a decision, Dustin or Jill or whatever?
Honestly,
we've been getting a lot of phone calls and have just been saying June 1.
Yeah, the June 1 is what we've talked about. I mean, the pool season lasts as long as you have the labor to produce the amenity and the weather to support it. So you're not under any kind, because if we take the idea that this is going to break even or make money off the table as a consideration for the timing and the intensity of how you would program it, then it's just, well, can we have labor and do we have weather? And you can push this as long as you want. All we need is 2 weeks, a 2-week runway to make the pool go. Now that assumes that there's a labor pool sitting around that is capable and willing to work at the drop of a hat. I think that's I don't know if that's a safe assumption or not. I don't have any insights on that. But the drop dead date is probably, I mean, just as a parent of kids who go to pools, you probably say, you know, if it opens in July, right? It's a thing, if that's what you wanted to do. But these are substantive policy questions that
But in regards to Mike's comment,
we can provide context to, and we can support you in making those decisions. And we all have opinions that we'd share if you wanted to ask. But ultimately, this is we want the park board and ultimately town council to feel comfortable with the decision that's made, and so that's kind of where we're at.
I think in regards to what Mike said earlier, I think, Mike, possibly people will be staying home more. You maybe have less vacations out there. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I mean, I understand you don't want to take a big loss on it, but maybe people will be staying home more this year. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
That's going to increase your crowds, though.
Yes.
Well, but there would be only a certain amount that come in.
Yeah.
Right.
And the warmer, it's outdoors, it's warmer weather. It's something for at least our residents to do. So I'm leaning more towards opening it up. Is my personal belief. Things that got to open eventually.
Hey, it's Dave Servin. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. So my thought is this. I don't think anything is going to change in terms of the solution to the virus from today until, who knows how long. So the issue is, as I see, with people that want to go to the pool, Chuck Gardner, I think, from one of the emails I got, thought, you bring your own chair and open it up. And I don't see, if we open it up tomorrow or open it up in 3 months, that anything is going to change in that regard. So I think we should open it up. We should open it up lightly. The staff, as I understand, is willing to work. So if the staff feels comfortable and the people going there feel comfortable, even if it's 25% or whatever, bring their own chairs, I don't see why we can't do that. And I don't think it's going to change 2 or 3 months down the line. I mean, nothing unless we get a vaccine. I mean, it's going to be the same. It really is. So,
Really quick, if I might, and I only say this because you interjected that staff feels comfortable. I just want to be clear that I have significant reservations about employee safety if we open the pool.
I know, but I got the staff feeling comfortable from an email from some park board person.
Yeah, I didn't
that those people were okay with it. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I just got the impression that people that were working there were okay with working there.
Sure, and that's great.
But go ahead, Dustin. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And I don't have the benefit of knowing that because I didn't receive that communication. Sounds like there's a couple of things that have been floating around. I can't speak to them because they haven't come across my desk. But when you say staff broadly, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on my position that A, this is your decision. We're going to do whatever you want and we're going to do it really well. So just full stop. That's that. B, I have significant reservations about it guaranteeing employee safety in these conditions. If the pool's open, someone sick will show up. If that sick person comes, what is the acceptable level of risk in an unmasked lifeguard providing life safety to a potentially ill person? Probably small, but it's bigger than what I'm comfortable with. Here in Town Hall, I'm putting up glass stanchions out in the field for Public Works when we work with residents who are masked. I can't make those guarantees at the pool. So that is an unpopular opinion. I know I'm very lonely out on a branch and know that whatever you decide we're going to do it really well. But when you say staff is comfortable, I am not. And I just want to make that very clear.
I don't think it came from my communication.
Well, correct me for, where did I get that from? Because I remember seeing it. Dan, maybe, I don't know.
I don't think I put comfortable. I said and I'm not trying to.
They wanted to work.
No. I think there were 30 some people. I think the discussion was there were 30 some people that needed to be employed on a full level, and that no one has seemed to say I'm not interested in working. So
Okay.
yeah, Dustin has said that in clear. If it wasn't clear on my part, I apologize. I probably should have stuck with the oral recitation of what I said. But I mean, this goes back to a lot of different issues. I'm not sure who brought it. Is if you're going in, you feel comfortable, like that's your decision. I think Dave, you said it. That's your decision. You're making the choice to go in. But then now we've got a situation where our employees, who are going to be the young or the teenagers or young 20s, going in there and doing this now, do they feel comfortable, and do we put them in a spot? And that's where my problem is too. I'm like I said, I'm divided as to what it is. I agree with you. I don't think much will change. I'm only hopeful that things will change, but it's a tough decision because look, and I said this before, is that's in the shadow of the hospital. Our decision, if there was an outbreak, whether it's a church service or whatever, if that's the outbreak, we're doing it in the shadow of the hospital that's going to be most affected by it. So in theory, that's, trust me, I go back and forth on this all the time.
Yeah. Is there any way to do like a temperature check on the patrons that walk into the pool, that everybody gets? I mean, that seems to be a common practice right now.
But if you read, and I don't want to play, I'm not going to play doctor, I'm not. But if you read
you
studies,
look like Dr. Fauci, though.
Yeah, God, I hope so. If I look that way at 78, I'm going to be pretty good shape. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you
He
look at
has
the
more
study,
hair. He has more hair.
So does everyone.
if you look at the study, I mean, 46% of the Indiana population that they just initially tested had no symptoms, no temperature, no coughing, no nothing. They were asymptomatic. They had nothing. So you wouldn't know if you shot them with the thermometer, like, hey, look, your normal temperature, go in, and wham, you're not. And I'm not here to preach one way or the other.
I agree with you on that. The temperature is not the end all.
So, and we're not going to swab everyone. So it's really just a decision on how much risk, if you foresee it as risk or no risk, and just say, let people decide what they want to do. If they choose to do it, they're going to go there. If they don't choose to do it, they're not going to do it. So I think we don't have to make a decision, as Dustin said before. We're not going to make a decision tonight, but it's something that we need to keep churning in our brains so that we give direction to the staff so they know what's going on.
Yeah, and to be fair, there are other municipalities, Fishers and Noblesville, Carmel, they are making these decisions. There's a spectrum, and what it really comes down to is what level of risk are you willing to tolerate? And that depends, on a number of different perspectives. In my chair, a large part of my job is to worry. So by nature, I'm very risk averse.
How many people came through the pool last year? Do we have an idea?
How many what?
Individuals came through that pool last year, attendance-wise.
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Yeah.
We can provide that for you in a follow-up. I think that's an interesting question. Average daily attendance, total attendance per season. We can get into those numbers and produce a report for you. I think that's a really good.
See, and I'm leaning both ways. I don't know yet, in the sense that if something happens in there and it's traced back to an individual that swam in the pool or whatever, now the question is, we may have to shut it down. Do we now get into the business of refunding individuals because they're not getting the usage that they paid for? And I don't know if that becomes a big mess. And do we want to jump into a big mess now? Possibility. Or I understand what Dave is saying. It's there. It's your call. You go in. You do it if no one's forcing you to do it. And I understand that too. But I think we have to understand that if we open it, it may change. It may change in a week. It may change in 2 weeks. Do we have the support staff? Do we have the ability to make a move in to it. Individual, the life and so forth, don't have jobs. What do you owe them? Is there any or whatever do they have or take their jobs away at that time? And you do somebody that we're off for those 2 weeks. Some people so those are a lot of questions that I still think. I know, Dave, that you said we don't look at the dollars. We shouldn't, but at the same time, we are obligated to look at the dollars as a board member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So we got the pool discussion. Unless someone else has questions about the pool, there were some other items that just, the market. Want to do the market? Don't want to do the market. Movies in the park. I said I thought movies in the park, once again, we're going to use Dave a lot here. Dave said, that's your decision. There's a movie in the park. You want to go watch. You can wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask. That's your prerogative outside. And they're outside. Yeah. Any thoughts on any of those, or?
I agree. I think those are fine.
Yeah, those are fine with me.
Yeah,
those are fine.
Me too. Yeah, they can distance the family pods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
So Chesterton Market came out with some very detailed guidelines on how to run a market. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to review those. I looked at them briefly. When you say that sounds fine, understood that you were talking about movies, but
movies, yes.
Yeah, we were talking about movies. What about the market? What's the suggestion from Chesterton on the market?
They're limiting attendance. They're requiring masks. The Duneland Chamber is requiring masks and social distancing, and they're metering attendance. So it'll be like going to the Home Depot or anywhere else where there's a large crowd, and you have to wait in line. Is what they're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like going to Jewel. You wait outside. A certain number can come in, and when you come in, if you want to wear a mask, you should. But I don't see why there's any difference between the market, the grocery store, anything else. I mean, hopefully people are smart enough to know that they have to do the distance and follow the rules, and there's no reason not to have it.
Well, kids will want to play while they're in the water, and you can't wear a mask in the water.
Well, I'm talking about the
market.
The market, but
water.
I agree with the kids, and I'm going to tell you, Ken, I agree with you 100%. Kids will not follow the rules because they are Supermen, and there is no way you're going to get them to change. So the distancing is something that is just not going to happen with kids. Anybody, maybe between 65 and younger, but for sure, kids and 21-year-olds, they just they're super people, and it is just not going to happen. So no matter what you want to do in terms of distancing, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I have a 20-year-old. I concur with that.
I do too.
No, I mean,
it's true. I mean, even in our neighborhood, all the junior high kids are on bicycles together from every house, and they're all down at the end of the street throwing rocks in the lake. So they're together and then going home.
Is there anything else that I missed, either Jill or Dustin, or anything that I missed that we sort of need guidance on dealing with
summer camps?
Yeah, I mean, summer camps, and anyone can correct me on this call that was a part of that, was The problem is, we're gonna have some issues if it's weather. Then you're gonna have the issues with the amount of the groups of the people, and then you're taking away places where they can go. And a lot of the camps also share items a lot, and probably some of the same things that Ron's dealing with in a school setting that he's got to deal with, the camp folks will be dealing with as well. And so with no shelter, if it's 90 degrees or if it's, raining, like I'm certain it's going to rain for the rest of May, where do you put the kids? And you can only go to the social center, and that's not that large. So that was our thought, and someone else can fill in any blanks that I left.
Just that the camps are almost impossible to schedule using the stipulations that we have to follow because of COVID. So we really will probably need to cancel all the camps for the summer. And I know there'll be a lot of kids and parents who...
Well, there's a lot of parents that depend on those for, child care when they go back to work. So, I mean, if there's any suggestions out there that we should entertain, I would love to hear them. I don't have any.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of parents that rely on that for childcare.
And we
I
said
know that's.
We absolutely brought that up.
Does the Indiana Recreation and Parks Association have any guidance, or have they had, confabs of the brightest staff members in the state to come up with innovative ways to be able to do activities for kids and adults in the summer that are also safe? Maybe things, the one that surprised me that I really liked was the sidewalk art competition, where you could do it at your own home, and yet people were still able to see what other people had done and enjoy an activity and be creative.
Have we talked to any of the churches in town to see if any of the churches would want to partner with us? As far as like a camp, I know location is the primary issue, like you were saying, Dan, and so some of the churches in town have some space available, not necessarily St. Thomas, it's a school, so they probably fall under the school guidelines, but there's lots of churches in town.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Almost all of them have some kind of a dining hall or multi-purpose room.
Most have some sort of
social hall.
Gym or some, not a gym, but a cafeteria type.
All purpose.
Yeah, all purpose room. So it's just a thought, and maybe it's even possible to break up some of those camps into a couple of different churches and different age groups and things like that. If it was, if it's feasible. I know that that's a lot of work, Jill, but I just hate to see these parents that depend on that care without any options.
Hey, Ron, may I ask a question from a school board perspective?
Yes.
What is the reasoning behind not allowing?
Well, the governor has it that no schools are open unless it's essential. Your support staff to go in, check boilers, do some construction. Some administrators can go in, but schools are closed to June 30th up to now. So that may, who knows, extend after June 30th. And if we're into July, we start school middle of August, like August 10th or 12th.
So why would the governor say that you're not allowed into a school building until June 30th?
It doesn't make sense to me.
That's what the order was.
Maybe it was because of, and certainly I'm not Governor Holcomb. Just want to preface that. Maybe it was because they didn't want to have even summer school in there. That's why they didn't want anything in there till 30th, because of school in general. I mean,
that's going to be virtual. That's going to be virtual summer school.
Right. What I'm saying is that's why he probably said X, Y, Z, and I'm only just guessing. But I mean, Ron, I could tell you from the school board perspective, right? You guys haven't made a final decision on what you even do in August.
And here's the thing that they instruct us to be ready for. You have to be ready for 3 to 5 plans they laid out. Obviously open school, like we of school, how it looked before COVID-19. We have to have, if we're all virtual, we're going to have to beef that up. That's a whole new different process. And then the third thing is a combination that we're going to have to practice social distancing, where we may have to have, let's say, a class of 25 Monday and Wednesday. 12 kids are in there with the teacher. The other 13 are at home online. And then the next day, the other kids come in. The 13 come in Tuesday and Thursday. And then everybody's home on Friday. So then the problem is, how do you then feed them? Do they sit in a classroom and eat? We can't take them all to a cafeteria. So those are issues that they're working on now. Our staff's working on getting everybody the different plans. Or do you go to school 8 to 12 and 1 to 5 shifts? So there's a lot of different options that are going to have available, but we're going to have to be ready. Here's the point. Like I said earlier, we're going to have to be ready to change week to week. It may change 1 week from the previous week. And so we're going to have to be ready for that. We approved now iPads for K through 4, because all our kids have computers 5 through 12. We approved that last night to get them those iPads so they can do some work. You know, every child has that ability. So we're laying out money for different plans. And the support staff we're holding off until, again, we were talking earlier about property tax collection, how those things are going to look, how staff the school in the fall. And again, we're going to have to be ready for all of those scenarios. And that's a difficult thing. That's what I said. You just don't turn the faucet off and start next week. You saw the ones who had kids in school that start that e-learning right away. That was tough. And a lot of the kids lost out to that. I don't know if Mike,
a lot of
your
Munster kids
were
Hammond
involved
was
in
ready.
that. Yeah. Well, Hammond had a e-learning virtual school that they were up again, but they are getting less attendance. Hammond is getting less attendance by far than what we're getting on their e-learning. So they may be ready on their books, but the kids aren't learning. That's our goal. You could have all of that there, but how do you get them online? Well, that's your job.
I know that this is a great topic, and I appreciate that, but got a little off topic from the summer camps that we were talking about.
Right. I think it's interesting, like, to hear the school perspective, because we have great schools. My children are in the schools as well, and they have a great staff, both educators and building staff, working through this for many months in facilities that they're not allowed to go into until the middle of summer. And the conversation that we're having here, kind of a parallel, is a microcosm of that. You know, we are creating a classroom-like environment and saying, well, it's going to run like that. And here you have just one of the best school systems in the state going through this diligently and really struggling to find a way to do it safely and predictably. So I think it is interesting to have those kinds of insights, because that's basically what the decision here is. The camps. Your point,
Councilman Schoons it was in education, or currently is education. He has to appreciate it's a different. Okay, he has adults at the university. Okay, we have 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds. It's one plan doesn't fit all. It's a very difficult. And then within, you may have 10-year-olds. Some are capable, some are not. We have special needs. Those are a moving target for us. That is a difficult thing to get together and have quality education.
And sometimes he's capable and sometimes he is not.
We will go back to the point here, and that is we're going to check to see if we can identify any churches that may be available. Now,
right.
tell you,
Churches was a good idea.
JCY, which was done over there by Three Floyds. I don't know what that's technically called, but they've canceled their camp. So we're going to be limited, but we'll check it. I mean, it doesn't have to be made today. So we'll I shouldn't say will, because it's not going to be me. It's gonna be the other person. It's going to be the other person on the thing.
There you
I
go.
apologize, Jill. So
Well,
Jill's
and
probably,
again, I
Jill's
know,
probably
I
hating it
certainly
right
don't,
now.
and I know, and I certainly don't expect, this is, I just would rather us exhaust the option. I certainly don't expect this to come to fruition right away at all. I know that.
All right, so we're good with markets. We're gonna pursue that. Enrichment, we're gonna try to do some online because that's the same situation. You've got older teachers, kids, and quite honestly, if they have to learn online, they better start learning how to do this now.
That's a good point. Good point.
Baseball and softball, I think it was left was as long as they submit a safety plan, and I'm using air quotes, to the town as far as what they're going to do. The town is going to, I believe, keep the water fountains off and snow fence the bleachers. Beyond that, it's going to be up to the different leagues. And I know, quite honestly, I know Little League and Babe Ruth have been talking and sharing ideas on what other people have been talking about. So I think as long as everyone's okay with baseball goes, or softball or however. And then what else do we really need to talk? Anything else that I'm missing on this one?
I think that was.
Can I bring up one thing?
Yeah.
We've gotten some calls in regards to rentals, and there's some weddings coming up, August, September, that they're already looking to cancel. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on that.
I mean, my opinion would be is if everything is lifted by the governor's order on July 4th, which everything seems to go back to the new or old normal, then I don't have any problem with them renting it. Once again, we're going to quote Dave, it's their choice. That's what they're going to want to do. It's available. And
no, I know. There's a rental
Jill,
already in there for September, and she
Jill,
wants
is
a
your
refund.
question on the refunds? Like, what's our refund policy today?
Right now, there's no refunds on rentals, period. They have a year to use the credit.
Okay, so what you're asking is we should probably establish a refund policy, at least a temporary one during this. Is that what you're?
Yes, please.
I misheard that. I apologize. I would give them a refund.
I agree with that.
I would agree with establishing a refund policy during the pandemic, just like you would with any car payment, late payments they're waiving, things like that. So, I mean, I think that we have to recognize that.
I know, but it's like how far out? Because, I mean, you can have people call for like their November rental that they want a refund for. So, I mean, is there at some point, do we just kind of just
What's
pull
in their
them off and
contract?
wait?
What's in their contract, though?
There isn't
nothing
much.
related to COVID-19.
So, but if the law says that it's okay to do it, then they shouldn't be getting a refund in December.
Well, that's what she's asking, was like, how long would we, if someone wants to cancel their wedding in August and September, we'll say yes. How long should we make that good for? Dustin, do you have a recommendation?
Dan, you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say I'd give them to the end of the year. Look, and I have two scenarios where people were supposed to get married in June and one in September, and they were both let out. They let them out at different venues, one in Chicago, one South County. I'm just of the opinion, look, I don't want to force, I mean, yeah, you don't want to go too crazy, but I think if you put it to the end of the year, I don't think we lose too much. Yeah, but that's their choice. I mean, some people may just go get married at the Justice of the Peace and say, look, I can't do this, and we're going to get married in my backyard, just because we don't want to deal or cause people that are older some trouble. That's my opinion.
I will say that we've had 5 weddings scheduled for this year. 3 of the 5 have already rescheduled for 2021. So it's just this one that's at least asking for a refund. The other one is on as of this time.
I would refund it.
And both of my people that I just talked about, family members, rescheduled to 2021 as well.
Well, yeah, that's the same. My son's getting married. His was the 24th next weekend, which was canceled.
Oh, God.
I know.
Wow.
But we were doing it June 28th now. But yeah, it's just.
I mean, if we need a policy, I would motion to approve refunds for bookings through December 31st.
So just the year 2020?
Yeah. And then you could
Dave-
see if that has to be extended.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm here. You know, nobody knows. I mean, how long is this going to go on? I have no problem with refunding bookings, but, you know, to set a date certain, you know, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, December 31st is fine.
Well,
But
what
if we
you
don't
could
have a
do-
policy, don't we need to set one? I think that's
Yeah,
the
we
question.
do need,
yeah, well, but what
and
we
it needs
could
to apply to
do,
everybody.
to Dave's point, is if you call in now, if you call in tomorrow and schedule a wedding for February 2021, there is no refund.
You can't do that.
Well, even
start digging
how
2021
about
in November
November
1.
of 2020?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe mine's a bad example, but what I'm saying is from now on, say maybe someone schedules for November wedding today for whatever reason. Would that work?
Yeah.
If they
I'm
schedule,
being forced to go to a wedding, by the way, in 2 months, and you know we don't want to do it.
mail the check in. But what I'm saying,
No, I'm not
Dave
giving them.
Dave won't
They
do
are,
that.
they are not
No
getting
way.
any servant money.
oh, that's not new. That's not new. But
There's
what
no such thing.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
what
I got
I'm
the
saying
football
is,
thing
You
going.
mean you have to give money at a wedding, Dave said? Yeah.
Rotten.
what I was trying to say was, since there is no policy and they don't get a refund, so we just have to say that if you schedule it, say tomorrow for an October wedding, then we have to tell them, look, you understand that even if this goes on, this pandemic, there is no refund, that you're in. So you have to go in with your eyes wide open, knowing that that's okay with you. And
So you're
taking
saying
that risk.
existing bookings we should allow them to cancel, but new bookings that we shouldn't.
I agree. Yeah, that would be.
See, I don't agree with that, because what if someone says, based on what we know from the state, I'm going to book my wedding in October, and then in August
It
there's
blows
another.
Well,
it blows up again.
Here's
and
the
we're in
deal.
the same
This is what
situation.
happens. This is what happens because we just went through this.
Okay.
You put it in because the new venue that we had to get, we actually put it in the clause that if anything was happening due to covert or whatever, and we didn't just cancel, but because the law said that we couldn't have a venue,
Right.
then we would get our money back, our deposit back. But other than that, if we just cancel because we canceled, then that's on us.
Is that a motion?
So that was how the contract went down.
Great. All
We
right.
just signed it yesterday.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait.
but
All in danger of being muted all.
You can't. We can mute you. You can't mute us.
Really quick, for the record, because we're talking about a financial transaction here.
Okay.
If I may be so bold as to suggest, the motion would be to refund the one question, the one deposit in question, and then staff will bring to you a policy that you can look at, react to, have us amend, and then you'll adopt a policy so you won't have to be asked this question again. Does that sound like a reasonable?
Sounds good.
Sounds wonderful.
good.
I like Robin's motion. I'm personally, that's what I'm gonna.
I'll second.
Okay. So anything else on this discussion? We do have one item outside of COVID related items. So if I want to finish with anything like programs and events or thoughts, questions, did you ever able to find out how many passes we did sell, Jill, by any chance?
It's about 40-60, 40% resident, 60% non.
And
And
how
then
many?
Highland?
Of that Highland, I say probably 15%.
Are they counted as residents or is they counted as non-residents? Since we have a
Well,
special
in the
population.
system, they're counted as residents because for a membership, that's what they get is a resident rate.
How about we produce a detailed report with some source data for you to react to, and that'll give you the level of granular information that you're looking for. Does that sound like a fair thing to do?
Yes.
Always better.
Okay. So there
But
was
when's the next meeting?
bride her money.
Hold on.
There was a motion and a second to give that bride her money.
That's correct. But I thought we were just gonna go with, we agreed that we were gonna give her back her money and we were gonna develop a policy. I didn't think we had needed to vote on it to give her back her money.
Okay.
If you want to vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So we officially gave her money back.
State Board of Accounts drops by, that's all.
We are totally not the town council, by the way. We're way different.
Thank
I've
God.
noticed.
No offense, Mr. Scoop.
None taken.
So there's a technical matter that we need and that we need to deal with as far
Keep
as
cutting
signing
out
off
here.
on vouchers. And it came to my attention that we need to designate someone since we do not have Greg anymore. So we have to designate someone to sign the vouchers so they can get onto the claim list and so that we can, as a board, can approve it. So someone needs to make a motion to make someone that person, and so that Trish and the folks at the clerk treasurer's office will be a lot happier when the auditors.
I move to make someone that person, and that
Okay.
would be Dan Repay.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Dave.
I'll
I mean,
second that.
Does that have to be one of us, or can it be Dustin?
It could be anyone you designate.
Can it be Janice? Because she's
No.
She-
No.
She says no.
She doesn't want it.
You do it.
So there was a motion.
I mean, if you want me to go over there,
I don't have a problem going over there.
I'll do it, but I don't want Ron doing it. I would prefer.
Over 7,500.
These are for expenses over $7,500.
I would be happy to do it, Dave, if you, since you
I
said it.
would move that Dan has the authority to do it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I
You
would
don't
like
look
to-
very happy.
Motion and
further
motion and
definition on
seconded.
it.
All those, is going to be negotiable as well. All those in
Whatever.
favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
Aye.
There we have the motion. And Tricia is probably really happy to leave this meeting at this point in time. She doesn't have to listen to us anymore. So I don't have anything else. Dustin, we're advertising for the director's position. It expires, I believe, on the 12th, the advertisement. So hopefully we'll have nominees coming in here as far as their applications are going to be soon.
Yes, we've received 6 to date, 7 to date. So,
All right.
Good ones.
Dan, I did have a resident call and she was upset about the number of people congregating at Centennial Park. And I said that at least that I would bring it up at the park board meeting. Steve Tulowitzki and I both responded to her and noted that the difficulties of limiting people at non-events. Her idea was to have parking permits or residents only parking because of course 2/3 of the people in the parking lot have Illinois license plates. And I don't know if anybody else has thought about it, but I have very mixed emotions about all of this because I understand the disadvantages of congregating and getting within 6 feet and not wearing masks and all, but our federal constitution does guarantee the right of assembly. And to say that they can't assemble, I think if our police tried to break up parties the way Mayor Lightfoot is doing in Chicago, the town would lose it in the courts.
Yeah.
I would just hope adults would do what they should do. I think when it comes to parties and stuff like that, then yeah, I think they should be broken up. But I'm going to tell you, we had a discussion. I think Centennial Park is the place to be. There's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, yeah, Illinois is locked down, and so you have to be an adult, and that's the best I can tell people is to stay away from each other. And if it gets too out of control, I'm certain that the police will be there to break it up. But I mean, if you run into your friend or a friend runs into a family and you've got 6 people and they hug, I can't, there's a point in time where I can't stop people from doing what they feel. Some people, look, in my own family, some people think this is okay, and some people are scared to death. And everyone has their own little ship and taking care of their own little business. So I would just hope that adults be adults. And yeah. I can't, I mean, I appreciate you bringing it up. I just,
yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. And I think Dustin will take note. And if Chief Shuckle gets any notice, but they're not going to, I don't think the best use of your resources are going to be the breakup of the social distancing police.
What's happening now if these individuals are seeing that and they call 911 because you're supposed to call 911? What happens? Do our police then go out there and do what?
I don't know.
To be adults.
I didn't hear that, Dustin.
They kindly ask them to be adults and to disperse. If the actual people congregated are there by the time that they're dispatched and arrive.
Right.
We're not doing lights and sirens going through lights to break up a person walking next to another person.
Right.
And if we had heavy police presence at Centennial Park, people would meet at Bluebird Park or any one of the other parks in town. We can't be everywhere all the time. But
right.
We had a scenario. We had a scenario at Briar Lane, Briar Creek Park, where they took off the cover off the basketball hoop, and there was a basketball game breaking out. That's different.
Yeah.
Walking around, sitting at a picnic table, what are you going to do? So I appreciate it. Anything else from anybody else out there that wants to bring up something of interest or non-interest?
Can I just ask, my phone cut out and the speaker cut out when things were finalized with camp. Am I just looking into like Southside Christian and Westminster to see the availability of their space, and then we're going to go from there?
Or any churches that we know of. I was just thinking if one of the concerns is the size and if it's possible to do, and I don't know if it is possible to do, multiple churches you could split these up by camps, by age groups, there's lots of different ways to split it up. And it was just a thought that I had of trying to accommodate some of these parents that do rely on that. So whatever you think is best. If you know of more than one church, I know that Westminster would probably, participate, Southside Christian, but there's a couple of others in town too that I think might be open to the thought.
Mm-hmm.
You were hoping that your phone cut out farther.
We've had partnerships with churches before. The park department preschool was at Ridge United Methodist for a long time.
Dan, thanks a lot. You did a great job, and I appreciate everything, and everybody else, and stay safe.
Well, I imagine the next time we'll talk, we may have a special meeting before the June 1st deadline, air quotes, so that we can make sure that Jill has everything that she needs to answer the questions about programming and everything else. So that's just my thought. Anyone else feel the similar same?
I agree.
So we'll just figure out a date down the line that just so everyone can chew on this information and go from here.
Okay.
All right.
Happy Memorial Day.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So I'll second it.
It's motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Good to see you, Robin.
Good to see you too, kid. All right.